Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Players Only YouTube channel and welcome back to our UEFA Champions League semi-final first leg predictions. We're into the juicy part of the tournament now. Four of the biggest clubs in world football, some clubs in great form, some clubs not so much, but it doesn't matter on the night or to battle for on Tuesday and Wednesday night between these four great sides. Releasing this prediction video a little bit earlier so we can get amongst it nice and early this week because these are going to be some massive games to come this week. With that being said, ladies and gents, let's not delay it. Let's jump straight now into my breakdown and the predictions for these two semi-final games. We're off to England and the capital, Arsenal hosting Paris Saint-Germain. What a tie this one is going to be. The first leg back at the Emirates, like how Arsenal had it in their quarter-final where they beat Real Madrid 5-1. Probably the best night in that arena, the new Emirates Stadium, when they got that massive result versus Real Madrid in the first leg. They look trying to replicate it in this one here versus a very, very dangerous PSG side. As I said, they're coming for that 5-1 aggregate victory, dominant over Real Madrid across two legs at home and abroad, and they've scored 14 goals now in the first two stages of the knockout round. So they're in fine form up top. But for me, it's all about their defensive ability. That was their cornerstone in their improvement in the league form and now competing second 3 consecutive years. And it has been, despite all the goals they've scored in the Champions League this season as well. You think back to the start of the tournament, it was about clean sheets. It was about being safe defensively, limiting opportunities. And they really did not give Real Madrid much of a sniff with all the attacking talent they had. So I think, yet again, that'll be the calling card for this Arsenal side. Despite how good they are going forward, they'll look to be solid defensively and build from there on in. And that's a real, solid mentality and attitude to come into this game, especially versus a very dangerous PSG attacking side. They come to this game, Arsenal, however, on the back of 12 games unbeaten. A few draws recently in the league as they've really, hyper-focused on the Champions League and winning this tournament. But there's a real opportunity here with a good amount of form and rest for these players coming into this midweek tie here. Talk about defence. Kylian and Saliba, yet again, for me, will be pivotal, core to everything that Arsenal do across their two legs, but in particular this first leg. We think back to that Real Madrid opening leg at home. Some see it as an advantage. I see a bit of a disadvantage. I'd rather play the away leg first, but Arsenal thrive because what they did well was early on Real Madrid and PSG will both come at this side. Real Madrid did it, PSG will undoubtedly try and come at the blocks fast and put Arsenal on the back foot. But what these two do at the heart of the defence, especially in that first leg, was limit the opportunities, limit the chances for those key speedier players up top. We know Saliba can match a lot of players for pace. Ousmane Dembele will be a difficult challenge, but he's got that. And Jakub Kylian, I think his best game in an Arsenal shirt came in that second leg versus Real Madrid. A massive stage, a massive environment, the crowd, the atmosphere, the players he was playing up against, but he matched it. He was fantastic in that second leg. And him alongside Saliba are going to be important yet again. No mistakes, keeping that high line, but also limiting the opportunity and space for PSG to run in behind. And you know what you do? Be calm on the ball. Arsenal play their best football when they're in possession, when they're playing it around sides and playing it direct. And it's all about, for these centre-halves, getting the job done. Defend first, but then when you have the opportunity to go and play. Like we saw in that first leg versus Real Madrid. They grew into the game, they got comfortable, they were spraying balls out, they were keeping Arsenal on the front foot. So massive games for these two centre-halves. And then keeping that theme in the core of the side, Martin Odegaard and Declan Rice. I was critical on them for a lot of this season, probably around January and February is when I really amped up that, harsh review on these two players. But what they've done since then has kept me quiet. They've been fantastic. They have been the leaders the sides need. Declan Rice with a generational performance across the two legs versus Real Madrid. He needs to be at the races yet again. He will likely be the deeper lying playmaker alongside Jorginho because of Thomas Partey being out suspended. So less free roam in the final third, but he can still do that role. They come up against one of the strongest midfields in world football right now, one of the most in-form midfield trios in world football. So Declan Rice has to be that disruptor, has to be that physical player first, and then the ball playing and the expansiveness to come second. But also Martin Odegaard as well. That means he has a lot of the license in the final third to be that creator, be that playmaker, work with Bukayo Saka down that right-hand channel in the half spaces, create for the centre forward, whether that be Miko Moreno or someone coming off the bench, and support that Arsenal front line. The Arsenal front line is in great form right now. Martinelli's firing, Bukayo Saka's firing, Mika Moreno's got goals in his game, but it has to get there. And Martin Odegaard is that instigator. He's the captain, has the armband on. He has a massive job to break down this PSG backline and make good things happen for Arsenal in the final third. So those two in the core of this Arsenal midfield are going to be important to match what PSG do, but then better it going forward, especially being at the Emirates. Looking at PSG, they enter the semi-finals after holding on just 5-4 over Aston Villa in that classic quarter-final tie. They come into this game, however, with a loss on the weekend, which ends their chance of an invincible league title there in Ligue 1. A 3-2 loss prior to that Villa performance saw them win 22 games unbeaten. So they come into this game on the back of two recent losses, but prior to that, 22 games unbeaten. Shows the quality of the side, shows the relentlessness, and shows what Enrique has instilled in this side. It is that relentlessness, that willingness to win, the ability to be inevitable in games and find a way through. And that's what PSG have had this season. They've not been that weak, lacking that backbone type of side where they'll fall over and crumble under pressure. Villa probably put them under the most pressure in that second leg tie, but they did enough to hold on. Massive moments for Pacho on the line, important runs for midfield areas from the likes of Fabian Ruiz and co. And that's why they got over the line. They haven't really buckled under pressure. I think it's the best term for them. And that's why they come to this tie and probably as favourites over the two legs. But this first leg, it's a lot of important moments these players have to lift up to and deal with the pressure and deal with the intensity of that Emirates crowd being up and about for this game here. We saw the counter-attack. We saw the speed which they played with in the first half versus Aston Villa in that second leg. I expect that to be very, very pivotal to this PSG build up and attack in this first leg at the Emirates with Arsenal at home. It's that type of football they're going to have to play and trying to utilise the speed, because we know Arsenal have been vulnerable to the counter-attack across the last 24 months. It has been a bit of their Achilles heel, especially committing numbers high up the pitch. That could be PSG's avenue into this game to getting a positive result or potentially even getting a win in this opening leg here. And then as such, it goes down to the likes of Ousmane Dembele, who's probably been across the Champions League through the league phase and now the knockout stage, is probably the player of the tournament. He has been fantastic. Important moments, important goals, important passes. He's made things count in the final third. He's looked hyper-focused. He's looked ready to go. And what has been very, very good to see is the ability to stay in games. Doesn't often drift out of games and makes the right reads. Not wasteful with the football. Every touch he gets is important. The link-up play, the final third finishing, he's got it all. He's got the full package this season, and that's why he's been one of the most dangerous in this competition. We know that Arsenal's backline is their strength. We know that Saliba is one of the best in world football, but the pace of Ousmane Dembele, the ability to drop in as a false nine, but also skip in and roll in behind, can stretch his Arsenal backline, can cause them problems, and that could be, I guess, a real key feature of this PSG side, especially with them liking to play in the counter-attack. Allow Arsenal possession, get one of your midfielders there to win the ball, and then allow Ousmane Dembele to use his speed, use his agility to get in behind, to beat that Arsenal back line and get in on goal. And more often than not this season, he's finished his chances. Important to be clinical, especially on the road to the Emirates in this first leg here. And then, of course, as it has been basically throughout the whole season, the midfield trio, João Neves, Vitinha and Fabian Ruiz, they've been masterful so far in the Champions League. Less so in that second leg versus Aston Villa. Felt like they were caught out. They weren't as accountable defensively. One of the few times we've seen that with this PSG midfield across the season. So I think they need to switch on from the start here versus Arsenal. Can't be caught out in transition. Can't be wasteful possession. It's one of the few times I've seen this midfield trio be like that this season. Important they start from minute one, as is all the PSG side. But once they get going, the ability to be disruptive in there, to get in control of that midfield battle. I often talk about midfield battles winning games of football. This is no different here. Two great sides that have the edge in the final third. It's about who can progress the ball to that final third. And as such, that midfield battle is so important to that. And I feel like if I had to really just hone down on one player, Fabian Ruiz for me. He has the ability to drive the ball forward. He has the ability to play the smart passes in behind, to kick-start a counter-attack, to get that high press and high energy going in midfield. We know that João Neves loves a challenge. We know that Vitinha is the ultimate, I guess, Swiss Army knife, and he can do a bit of everything. But I think Fabian Ruiz, in his mould in this game here, likely at times being the deepest lie alongside of João Neves, can progress PSG forward, can get things ticking. And I think his work with the wide players, in particular with Kavica Kvaratskhelia as well, so also Desire Doué, is really important to progress the ball to those types of players. To be not wasteful in possession is his strongest calling card, and he might not be that sort of 10 out of 10 type pass or 10 out of 10 type tackle that makes the highlight reels, but his continual dominance all over the park and the small things will eventually add up, and he could be the difference maker, especially with Thomas Partey missing for the Arsenal midfield with suspension. So look to him in particular to be the key leader in the midfield for this PSG side. But all in all, the midfield trio in itself is going to have a massive job to play in this game here versus Arsenal. It's going to be tight. It's going to be back and forth, this one here. Who can take the big moments? Who can live up to expectation? Who can deal with the pressure? I think Arsenal will have enough at home. I think the Emirates crowd is turning into a fortress. I didn't think I'd be ever speaking those words, but we saw what they did versus Real Madrid. We saw the atmosphere and the intensity that crowd was able to generate. I think they do it yet again here. This PSG side, it is young. It has had the history of bottling these type of performances, but I don't think they crack as much under the pressure here. They have that talent going forward. We know that Arsenal in recent weeks haven't been perfect in midfield areas at times. They have given the ball away. They have made mistakes. So PSG will have avenues to goal. As such, I'm going with a 2-1 Arsenal win. Not the 2-0 or the 1-0 that many expect. I still think Arsenal will get over the line, but I can see a way that PSG score. There's too much talent in this PSG side to go to the Emirates and not score a goal or not make a perfect chance. And I think they put one away to keep this tie very, very close. But I am backing Arsenal in at the Emirates for a 2-1 positive first leg result. That now brings us to our second semi-final. Football Club Barcelona play host to Inter Milan. I am absolutely pumped for this semi-final. For me, my pick of the semi-finals. You've got a great football club in Barcelona who come off the back of that fantastic Copa del Rey, dramatic Copa del Rey versus Real Madrid. They entered the semi-final off the back of a 5-3 aggregate victory over Borussia Dortmund after a little scare in the second leg. However, that second leg loss was a blip in what has been a almost perfect season for the football club. 24 games unbeaten prior to that loss there. They've got the job done in recent times as well. They've scored 10 goals in their last 5 games, and that for me is a story of their season. They've been way too damaging in the final third for all defences to slow down. Borussia Dortmund, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid. You can put names out there. They've beaten back lines. They've dominated games of football. The front three is inevitable. They are unbeatable at times, and they're just a joy to watch. And that has been what Hansi Flick has instilled in this Barcelona side this season. It'll be that attacking mindset. It'll be that relentlessness in the final third that will be the core to this side here, trying to beat Inter Milan, especially at the Olympic Stadium there in Barcelona, because Inter Milan will come in with that back five, want to be robust, wanting to be really, really solid defensively and sit low in a block and try and protect their goal. But Barcelona are going to have the tools and to find the willingness to break down that Inter Milan side. And I won't put it past them because they've been fantastic this season in the final third. As such, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha are going to be the key superstars for this Barcelona side. Without Robert Lewandowski, we will see Ferran Torres likely down the middle. He's been dangerous off the bench this season. How will he go from the start? But it's more important that Lamine Yamal and Rafinha, like to have all the way through this season in big games, stand up, create opportunities for that central striker, or the likes of Fermin or Dani Olmo, or any of those midfielders making those late runs into the box, setting up those players. That's what Rafinha and Lamine Yamal have done so well this season. And in particular, Rafinha has found goals in these big games, whether it be headers, volleys, awkward finishes, easy finishes. He finds the back of the net in so many different ways. He's playing with so much belief, so much confidence and freedom in the final third. He is the skipper, and probably the skipper for a reason this season. He has been without a mistake. He has been absolutely ruthless in the final third, and him in particular, with a link up with Lamine assisting to Rafinha, I think you can see that at least once in this tie here versus Inter Milan, because they've been on a telepathic tight link up so far this season. But those two are going to be so dangerous in the final third. Their trickery, their skill, it can break and can bust a low block. It can break apart a back five because of their individual brilliance. So look to those two in those wide spaces, drifting inside, going to the bar line, causing all sorts of problems for DeMarco, for Denzel Dumfries, Bastoni, Bisek and company. They are way too good. The Inter Milan back line is fantastic, but right now this Barcelona front line is just unbelievable. And then the game will be made very easy for Barcelona if they can win that midfield battle. We've got, again, two of the best midfields going at it. I love the Inter Milan midfield three. If you watch the channel, know how much I respect and adore that midfield trio. But Barcelona have a dynamic midfield combination in their own right now. Frankie de Jong has come into the side, being more of that deeper lying ball player, playmaker, has been fantastic in the place of Marc Casado. But Pedri, there's shouts for him to win the Ballon d'Or now, second or third in the rankings. He has been fantastic in recent times. It just oozes calmness, it oozes coolness. And in that midfield there, against a fantastic midfield trio that has so many strengths and so much combative ability in Inter Milan, he will have the ability to break that apart. He can drive Barcelona forward, smart little tricky touches in and around tight spaces, opening up the Barcelona side, having the vision to play the passes to, I guess, avoid going through the Inter Milan side. He can play around them. And I feel like he will be so important in this game, a linchpin for Barcelona, because if it comes a scrap in the middle of the park, it takes away which Barcelona do best. It takes away the ability to play in the final third. The equality, the ability that Pedro has on the ball can negate that. His trickiness, his smarts, his ability to see and play the pass takes away what Inter do so well in the middle of the park, because they can go around them because of how good Pedri can be. So he's going to be so important in tight areas to progress this Barcelona side, to get them into the final third and get them doing which they do best, which is attack and find the back of the net. So he has massive importance in this game here. If he's in control of the game and Barcelona have control of the midfield battle, well, it's one-way traffic, because Inter, they really rely on that midfield trio there to be competitive. Look at Inter Milan. They did what they did do best, which is just battle their way through that quarterfinal tie versus Bayern Munich. 4-3 in the end, going through an aggregate set up by that first leg away win at the Allianz Arena. It's the recent form, however, that's been very worrying. 3 consecutive losses see them go to second in Serie A and knocked out of the Coppa Italia. It's worrying times with Inter Milan side. Few players coming back from injury, a lot looking underdone. And the quality of the side defensively, which is their calling card, which is their identity, is starting to erode away. We've seen them concede 8 goals in their last 5 games, which for any side won't be a worry. But for the Inter Milan side that doesn't often score a lot of goals, that is a problem. And they're conceding goals in clumps and making more mistakes, which we're used to. I talk so highly of this Inter Milan side with how they never really give up opportunities. They never give up mistakes. They're always so solid defensively. That is their backbone. That is their calling card. That's their strength. But what we've seen in recent times is fatigue and injuries. It's just gone away from this side. What they do so well, the limiting of mistakes, the perfection in the execution of their craft has been their strength under Inzaghi across the last 3.5 seasons. And that's starting to fall away at the wrong time of the season. It's a bit of a worry, but they have to get back on track here in the Champions League, because they're going to have to be a defensive monster versus Barcelona. We know how many hundreds of goals they've scored this season, 150 or 60, I think they've scored nearly now this season. They've been absolutely unbelievable in the final third, and I think it's a perfect matchup between fire and ice. The fire, the attacking ability of Barcelona, and the ice, the coolness, the calmness, and the defensive solidity which Inter Milan normally provide. That's what we've got in this tie here. Who do you pick? Who do you choose? It's up to you, because you've got it there, the opportunity. Do you want the outstanding attacking football of Barcelona, or do you want the relentless, the robust, the aggressive defensive unit that Inter Milan have? And that's basically the battle here. If Inter Milan can refine that defensive form, well, we've got a great 2-legged affair in our hands here. For me, I'll continue that trend though, talking about midfields. Hakan Çalhanoğlu, Henrik Mkhitaryan, Barella as well. The midfield 3 that I have raved about now for basically over a year. They have been fantastic this season for Inter Milan when they've played together. They've played a lot of football together this season. The tiring of the legs can be seen, but they need to give their best here for another 2 games, because they're of so much importance to Inter Milan here, and they were so important versus Bayern Munich, especially in that away leg, in the opening leg. They progressed the ball through midfield so well. They took away Kimmich and Goretzka's dominance, which we've seen so often in the Bundesliga, and they're going to have to do the same here to limit which De Jong, Pedri, Firmino, Dani Olmo will do, which is dominate midfield battles, which is play on their terms. If they can be that disruptive combination, if they can start getting on the ball and keeping the ball away from Barcelona, that then limits what Barcelona can do in the final third. We know their strength at attacking football. Take that away by making the midfield battle a scrap. Make it ugly in there. Don't allow Barcelona to skip through the lines quickly and with ease. A lot of the Barcelona goals in La Liga come from turnover midfield, direct counter-attacking play, or a defence-splitting pass. And that's because those midfielders instigate that attack, especially what we've seen from Pedri and De Jong in recent times, which is those two deeper players are making things tick for Barcelona. So if Callum and Mkhitaryan can do what they do best, which is cause havoc in midfield, and Barella can get on the ball and progress the ball forward for Inter Milan, it takes away that attacking threat. It takes away the fluid football which Barcelona want to play. And all of a sudden, Inter Milan are on the front foot. They are favourites in this tie if it becomes ugly, if it becomes a scrap. That's when I back it into Milan. When the ball is moving quickly, when it's moving side to side, when it's being progressed with ease, when there's not much defensive, scrap mentality, enforcement in this game, that's when it's on Barcelona's terms. It's important that Inter Milan play on their terms by making the midfield an absolute battle. Make it ugly, make it a scrap, make it one touch and you're under pressure. That's what Inter Milan are going to want. That's what those three can bring in this game here. And if it's like that, we'll Inter on the front foot. And then a massive game required from the back three. I think it will likely be Bastoni, Acerbi and Bisek with the looks of it. They're going to put up a generational type performance here. I've talked at length, we all know at length of what Barcelona do in the final third. We know what Lamine Yamal and Rafinha have done to the Champions League, to La Liga, to any competition right now. They are in unbelievable, almost untouchable form. Yeah. Barcelona probably have 4 of the top 5 Ballon d'Or candidates. That's sort of the football they're playing right now, especially in the final third. These back three, they've done some magical things. They've done some superb things in that blue and black jersey. They're going to need something even greater here to stop Barcelona. You know what? I do believe they have that in them, especially like Acerbi, especially like Bastoni, who we can see on weekly occasions, sliding challenges, coming out of nowhere, making an important block, clearing something of the line, scoring a goal down the other end. They have that in their game. They have the clutch gene in many regards. They're going to have to do that and more in this game here to stop Barcelona. It is backs against the wall type stuff. You're in poor form. You're going against the best team of world football. You're a defensive unit. They're an attacking unit. It is David versus Goliath for these centre halves, but I know they have it in them. And if they can bring that intensity, if they can bring that defensive solidity and refine their best form defensively, well, you've got to back into Milan because that's when they play their best football. They then can be allowed to play in transition. It can take away which Barcelona's strength is, which is playing to the lines, playing with speed. If they can play in a low enough block to limit Rafinha and Lamine Yamal's space to operate in behind, that's a good tick. But then you also have to cover off in the late runners of the box, Pedri, De Jong, Firmino and company, and Dani Olmo. You have to stop that as well. There's so much talent which Barcelona have in the final third. They're going to have their hands full, but if any back three can do it, it is Inter Milan back three. Massive, massive game for these three. And I feel like it's going to be no nonsense. It's not going to be playing out from the back. It is hoof that ball long and set up again. It's all about defense first and attack second for this back three. And as I said, if any back three can do it well football, these three can. Massive games required for them, but I do back him in to make it interesting. I do back him in to make it a real scrap in there. It is going to be literally David versus Goliath here. Barcelona, fantastic form off the back of a trophy, believing, scoring goals, versus Inter Milan, poor form, running out of legs, an older side, coming this away from home as a defensive unit. It's two polar opposites. Couldn't be any further apart in this game here. But that's what makes it such an intriguing and interesting and engaging tie. I am going to back Barcelona at home to get the job done. It's not going to be easy. It is not by no means going to be straightforward for Barcelona here. I think they get a 2-0 win. I think Inter Milan go there trying to keep the game to a 1-0 or a 2-0 loss and then backing themselves back in at the San Siro to make it a game, to produce something remarkable at home. If they can keep it at a reasonable arm's length type distance in this game here, I think they believe they can turn around at the San Siro, find some form in the next couple of days and go again the second leg. They come here looking to defend. Barcelona go there looking to attack. As such, Barcelona 2, Inter Milan 0 for me. There we go, ladies and gents. They are my breakdown and my predictions for these two semi-final ties. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Who are the favourites? What are your predictions as we come into the first leg of the semi-final of the Champions League here? Let me know your thoughts, all that in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, guys, smash a like on it, subscribe to the Players End channel, and press that post notification bell so you know we upload all our videos and podcasts here in the channel. That'd be much appreciated. Also, if you'd love to join the membership club, early exclusives to the podcast, member exclusive videos, perks for live streams coming as well over the summer. So please join the membership club and support the channel. That would be much appreciated. With that being said, guys, hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the Champions League ties midweek here, and I'll see you guys in the video or podcast very, very soon. Till next time, guys. See you later.